Hi there, you are listening to the Play Squad Pod, coaching conversations with women just like you. Here, I'll dive into the real life conversations that I'm having with women in my squad, all working to transform their lives. Why am I sharing? Well, what they are going through and dealing with and finding challenging is the same for so many others. Each episode will feature candid discussions and actionable tips on overcoming life's challenges and navigating midlife with strength and confidence. Ultimately, I want to help you be the main character in the movie of your life rather than being a walk-on part. So let's dive in. Today, we're going to cover how to get more routine and structure into your day so that you don't feel like you are in Limboland. We're going to cover how to get over feeling stuck, and we're also going to look at how you can find the positives when you're feeling the opposite. I'm going to kickstart by talking about something that I definitely empathize with and feel, and that is falling into limbo land. You know the feeling a little bit rudderless and a bit out of control, where life is happening to you and what is happening is outside in rather than inside out. And it cropped up in quite a big way as a question and topic of conversation with the Play Squad this week. It came up in quite a few different self-reflections. I'm going to give you a couple of examples of questions that were asked during those self-reflections. I was asked, how can I get more structure into my day? I feel like I'm falling into limbo world. There was also how to be routine when your routine switches and changes. And then a final question that cropped up was relating to routine as well, was how to get all your steps in for the day when you are at a desk job. So I thought it was probably a good idea to cover it. Firstly, I just want to say it's really easy to lose structure in our days, especially when there are so many distractions and responsibilities happening for all of us. So firstly, you're not alone if you're feeling like this, but it is so important to try and create that structure. And I think if everyone could wave a magic wand, what they would wish for would be more time in their day. And fundamentally, structure helps to manage the time that you do have effectively. I mean, there's no surprises there. But the knock-on effects of reducing stress and anxiety, of boosting productivity and motivation, and improving our overall mental and physical health, they're the real reasons why we would like more time in our day. So here are my top tips to getting more structure into your day. First off the rank is setting clear goals. Now, those are clear goals, not just for each day, but equally for the week and for the month. But I haven't got time to set clear goals, Katie. I need more time in my day. How on earth am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to kind of respectfully disagree with you there. And I want you to take out your phone and have a look at how much time you spent scrolling on social media yesterday. I had a look this morning to see how much time I had spent, and I'd spent an hour and 20 minutes on social media yesterday, which I was quite surprised about. That was actually quite low for me. But realistically, I could have done something far more constructive with the majority of that hour and 20 minutes, other than looking at before and after videos of haircuts, which is kind of my current obsession, because if anyone's watching this on YouTube or as a video, I am in desperate need of a haircut. So that's my current obsession online in social media, is looking at before and after photos of haircuts. A complete and utter waste of time. And in that hour and 20 minutes, I could have done something far more constructive. So have a look at how much time you spent yesterday on social media, and then tell me that you don't have the time to work out what your goals are, because I respectfully disagree. You probably have got some time in your day to have a think about that. There is definitely some time if you choose to take it, if you choose to get yourself sorted with regard to your goals. Now, those goals, they could be admin related, they could be nutrition related, movement, social, they could be a plethora of different things. So first up, work out what your goals are, the things that you want to get done and the things that you need to get done in order for your life to, I suppose, run smoothly. Now, next to each of those goals or each of those tasks, I want you to have a think about and then write down how long each of those are going to take and be as realistic as you can about it. Once you've worked out how long each of those things are going to take, be honest about how important and necessary they are. What is urgent? What is less important? What are your non-negotiables? And these will be very, very, very personal to you. Now, whilst I do this long term, I also do this every Sunday evening and I plan out my diary for the week. And there are things that are fixed each week for me that are absolute non-negotiables. That's going through my clients' self-reflections, that is programming, that is coaching sessions themselves, that is touching base with everyone across the course of the week, that is marketing, that is replying to emails, that is having consultations. There are certain things that are just non-negotiables. Now, the volume of these things switch every week, but everything has an absolute time and a place across my diary, because do you know what? If I did not do that, I would just have an exceptionally long to-do list that would never shrink, and I would be running around like a headless chicken. I worked out a really long time ago that I need to be this organized down to pretty much every single half hour in order to function and get done what I need to do. I worked out a long time ago that I need a really clear routine, that I need a project plan. My morning routine is the same, not every day, but it's the same every Monday of the week or every Wednesday of the week or every Friday of the week. It is the same fundamentally. I know what my morning routine is. But what if your routine changes? For example, you have a week off. Well, I still plan things so I get done what I need to get done. There are still the weekly tasks that need to happen. There is still the non-negotiables, but the want to do stuff might change because I'm off work. My evening routine is relatively similar as well across the course of the week. And actually, day to day, it's pretty bloody similar. I always reflect on my day and I plan the following day and work out if I need to change things around, if I need to adapt things slightly. I use my calendar in Outlook to time block my day every single day. So sorting out topics for this podcast and organising my thoughts and recording it as I'm recording it now, these were very, very, very firmly locked in my diary. I haven't left it to chance to get this done. And that is what I see most often when people are struggling with time and structure, is that they have left things to chance. And there is truth in the line, fail to plan, plan to fail. So when a client says, how can I get more structure in my day? I will ask, well, how do you currently structure your day? And the answer is generally, not for everybody, but generally is, I don't. So the first way of getting more structure in your day is to add structure to it. So how do you go about doing that? So as I've said, write down your monthly and weekly goals and your tasks. Prioritize them in terms of your non-negotiables and your nice to haves. Work out how long each of those is going to take you and add them into your calendar using time blocking, and be really specific when you're adding them into your calendar rather than vague about what you're going to do with your time. And do this each week, because every week is different. Let's be honest, there are always going to be nuances. Now, for me, and I think for a large proportion of people, to be honest, Sunday is the ideal. Sunday evening is the ideal for most people to prepare for the week. Reason being, it kind of sets you up for the week ahead. And then review and replan each day. I spend 30 minutes planning on a Sunday and 10 minutes at the end of every day reviewing and adjusting and changing and moving things around, but making sure that everything has a time and a place in terms of what I want and need to get done that week. And whilst I might not get everything done, at the end of every day and every week, I feel like I have made progress. I feel like I have moved forwards rather than being in this state of limbo, which is not a nice place to be. Now, you have to put in the work to get that structure, and without it, you will be in limbo. So back to those other questions about structure that came through as well, one of which was, well, how do you be routine when your routine switches? Plan. You have to plan how to get all of your steps in when you are bound to a desk and you have a desk job. Plan. The answer is plan. For the most part, in terms of anything with routine, it's working out a plan. And for a large part, following through on that plan and adapting that plan when you need to. Now, following through on that plan, it might be a different matter. It's all well and good creating a plan, and you might struggle to follow through on that plan. But at the end of the day, you are the only one who can do that work. You are the only one who can follow through on the plan. But the first step of being able to follow through on the plan is creating the plan. Closely tied to this question that I had through in self-reflections this week was, I have a blocker on starting things. How can I get beyond this blocker? So this whole notion and question of I'm stuck before I've even started. Now, typically, it'll be one of four things or a combination of four things that are keeping you stuck. The first is kind of a fear of failure. Often we're afraid that we won't succeed, so it's easier not to start than start and fail. Because if you don't start, you don't fail. So there's that fear of failure that might be keeping you stuck. The second is this whole idea of perfectionism and waiting for that perfect moment to start, that perfect time to follow through on that perfect plan. And the reality is that perfect moment does not exist. There is always going to be something that might stop you from starting. Another thing is a fear of overwhelm. So feeling overwhelmed by the size or complexity of the task at hand. And I'm sure we've all felt that at some point in time. And finally, procrastination. So delaying tasks due to a variety of reasons, one of which might be a lack of motivation. So how do you start? How do you move yourself from feeling stuck to starting? So, and this relates back to the previous point, a big thing quite often is that things that you're wanting or needing to start are in a to-do list, but that to-do list is sitting in your head. That to-do list is stuck in your head. And if they have made it onto paper, they haven't been allocated time or space to do them. So the first thing that you need to be doing is, for that task, writing it down and then breaking it down. Breaking it down into smaller, more manageable, bite-sized chunks. Another thing to do is setting a realistic goal that is attached to each of those smaller steps. So, conversation I had with a client today illustrates this really well. So, they were talking about wanting to hit a weight goal before a holiday in September, and that was losing 10 kilos. Now, that might seem daunting, but they've said, actually, I'm breaking this down into losing 10 lots of 1 kilo. So it automatically feels more manageable. They've broken it down into bite-sized chunks. What they've then done is they've broken those bite-sized chunks into kind of process goals, and they've created a plan, the steps that they need to take in order to hit their goal, hit their target. And each of those steps that they've identified that they need to take across the week, across the month, they have time scheduled into their diary in order to complete those steps. So they have blocked when they are training. They have put in their diary when they're going for a walk. They've put in their diary when they are going to meal plan. They've put in their diary when they are going to prep lunches. They're not going to leave things to chance. They are giving time and space in their calendar to doing them, and they're being really specific about what it is that they need to do. Another top tip is starting with easy wins if you're feeling stuck. So the quick wins that you can easily complete that are going to kind of get you going. So I've got my tax return to do, which is very, very exciting and is not something that I've been putting to the bottom of my to-do list at all. A quick win for me was actually just sending an email to someone to get some info. So I've actually got myself going with this task with something that took 5 minutes to do. So work out what are the easy wins for you with whatever it is that you want to achieve that you can do that will help get you unstuck. And speaking of 5 minutes, that task took me 5 minutes firing off that email. What is it that you could do in 5 minutes or 10 minutes that's one of your bite-sized chunks that you could do to get going? So if you are stuck with something, just ask yourself the question, what's an easy win that I could get done in 10 minutes just to get the ball rolling? What if you've set up all of these things though, and it really isn't happening? You're just not following through. Then perhaps you need to find an accountability partner. So someone who is going to check in on you, on your progress, and effectively hold you accountable. I do this loads with clients. I check in to see if they've done the thing that they said that they were going to do. But it could be a partner, could be a friend, just someone who you know is going to give you a bit of a kick and a bit of a nudge when you need it. Another top tip, and I use this quite a lot with myself actually, is setting yourself a consequence of not doing something. So creating a consequence that might act as a bit of a stick to get you to get the thing done. For example, I don't get to do X until I've done Y. So I've set myself a bit of a task of I don't get to have from here on out that afternoon off until I've done my tax return. Plain and simple. That is my penance. If I don't get it done, I'm not getting an afternoon off. It might be for you that you don't get to meet up with a friend until you've done your meal planning, for example. So what is this consequence of you not doing something? That might be the stick that kind of gets you to get the thing done. Sometimes we need those consequences to motivate us. Another thing you can do is looking forwards and imagining yourself completing the task and how amazing that will feel once you've done it. How amazing and brilliant it will be to be able to tick it off your to-do list and move on rather than feeling weighed down by it. So think about how brilliant you will feel once it is done. And I spoke about a stick, but what about if we have a carrot instead? What if you reward yourself once you get the task done with whatever it might be that motivates and is a reward for you? So I talked about with my tax return, I'm not going to get an afternoon off until I've got that done. Well, it took me quite a while to get this first episode of the podcast out, and I procrastinated and I put it off, and I've broken it down into manageable chunks, and I'd done all of the things, but I wasn't doing the do. But I gave myself a reward once I had done it, and I'd said that I would give myself a reward once I had done it. So whilst I might hold back an afternoon off until I've got it done, once I had got it done, I gave myself the rest of the afternoon off to do absolutely nothing once I got the podcast done, which as a self-employed kind of business owner it was dreamy, I'm going to be honest with you. So have a stick, but have a carrot as well, that thing that is going to motivate you to get it done, that reward that you're going to give yourself. And finally, be kind to yourself. It's okay, and it's human nature to struggle at points. And this is where progress over perfection kicks in. So focus on making the progress rather than being perfect, because you'll get far further, faster by taking small, imperfect steps forward than you would do by trying to take large, perfect steps, which are never going to happen. So focus on progress over perfection, and I promise you, you will get moving. And the last topic for today, which is a big one, to be honest, and it's probably something that a lot of us feel at times, is how can I look for the positives when I'm feeling the opposite? So when I'm not feeling positive, when I'm feeling negative, how can I still find the positives in things to give myself a bit of a G up more than anything else? And this is all about reframing the way that you look at things. So reframing is just changing how you look at a situation and to see it from a more positive perspective. So how can you go about that? Firstly, you need to acknowledge your feelings. It's really important to recognize and validate any negative feelings that you might be having rather than just ignoring them and parking them to the side. And accepting that they are there is very much the first step to changing them. You cannot change what you don't acknowledge. So if you are having a bit of a negative day, negative week, negative moment, don't push that to the side. Face into it, recognize it, validate it, acknowledge it. That's the first step. The other tips are in no particular order, but I find them personally really helpful from a reframing point of view. The first is looking at shifting your language and moving towards positive language by replacing negative words with positive ones. And you will have heard this before. So instead of saying, I have to, I say, I get to. So for example, I get to work out instead of I have to work out. So I get to work out. I get to push myself. I get to challenge my body. I don't have to do this. I get to do it. I'm choosing to do it. Or change, I'm not good at this, to I'm learning and improving. Because do you know what? Every day really is a school day, and learning and improving and getting better at things is really, really exciting. Thinking about that's where you are rather than being, I'm no good at this. It's a really positive way of reframing things. Next thing that I always try and do is look for the silver lining in situations, because do you know what? There usually is one. So for example, I was talking to a client yesterday about this, and they were pissed off with going to bed early to get up early for training because their partner was getting to stay up later. And they were having a bit of a negative moment and a bit of a moan about it, I suppose. And I went back to them and said, how about thinking about it like this, and just kind of go, do you know what? I'm getting an early night because I'm training tomorrow, and I'm going to lift some heavy weights, which I love. And I know that's going to give me happy vibes for the rest of the day. And I get to see the city before others are up, which is a total treat. I used that very much as an example, to which they responded, "Oh, I bloody love that." And I didn't know this at the time, but they said, what I love is especially that seeing it light at 5 a.m. because our bedroom's really, really dark. So coming out onto the landing into glorious sunshine in the morning is brilliant. So there's always, if you look for it, if you choose to look for it, if you enter into thinking about things from a positive rather than a negative perspective, there is always, always a silver lining. Now, I remember when I used to commute to London and used to have kind of a 2-hour commute each way. And people would get really, really stressed when the train was delayed and we were kind of sat in the middle of nowhere, not moving. They'd get incredibly het up. Whereas I'd be like, oh, yay, get a bit more time to listen to podcasts. So I would flip it round and kind of go, I've got this extra time. Great, what can I do with this extra time? I found that a very liberating thing to do rather than getting myself incredibly stressed about being delayed. There's always a way of flipping the situation and saying, what are the good things about this? What are the positive things about this? Another good thing is just a bit of old-fashioned role reversal. So if you were feeling negative about a situation, imagine giving advice to a friend who is in your situation. What would you say? Because I'd hazard a guess you would be empathetic, you would be kind, you would be supportive, you would use positive language. So imagine yourself giving advice to a friend in your situation, and you will manage to reframe the situation that you are in from a negative viewpoint to a positive viewpoint. You'll be able to find the silver lining. And ultimately, focus on what you can control. Concentrate on the actions you can take rather than things that sit outside of your control. So back to my delayed trains, there was absolutely nothing I could do about it other than let my work colleagues know that I'd be late. But what I could do was control my reaction to it. That was the thing that I could do. I couldn't change the situation, but I could control how I reacted to it. So if you are in a situation that automatically kind of has you moving in a negative direction and perhaps a little bit of a tailspin, just remind yourself, I can't do anything about this situation, but what I can do is control my reaction to it. What is the silver lining I can take out of this? How can I reframe things in a positive mindset? And start yourself on that journey, and you will be able to move yourself in a more positive direction, even when you might be feeling the opposite of that. So today we have covered how to get more routine and structure into your day so you don't feel like you are in Limboland. How to get over feeling stuck, and those two things are very neatly tied together. How you can look for positives when you might be feeling the opposite. Thank you for listening. I hope you found that useful. Come back to me with any questions that you might have. And if you've got any topics that you would like covered in future episodes, then just let me know. And I look forward to you joining me for another episode soon. Have a brilliant day.